right, so in case you don't know, this is Brad Bledsoe. Brad is, for all intents and purposes, a first-year grower. And how big was your pumpkin you grew this year?
It's 1,729 pounds.
So he grew a 1,729 pound, the second biggest pumpkin ever grown in Colorado. Basically his first year out, had me sweating bullets. So Brad, what's your origin story? How did you start growing giant pumpkins?
So basically me and my wife, the first year out growing, was just kind of on the whim. We wanted to remove the grass in just this front area patch. It had been kind of a waste of space for forever. So I was talking to the wife and I was like, hey, what if we tried to grow a giant pumpkin? So we threw it in the ground, and as it grew out, we started removing the grass around it. I cut the main vine a couple times, had absolutely no vine management, didn't do anything right, and we still got the envy of the neighborhood with a 195-pound pumpkin. They were like, oh, this is the biggest pumpkin ever. And I was like, well, if we were able to get a 200-pound pumpkin without trying at all, what can we do if we try? And so we set out all winter long, we did some research, and that was what we were able to achieve.
Yeah.
Basically, the first year out trying was 1,700 pounds, and very successful, and hopefully we can replicate some of that success.
Are you a gardener? Are you a professional gardener, and do you have a background in that? How do you do so well?
I'm not a professional gardener at all. I do have a little bit of a background. I worked at a nursery for several years before becoming a firefighter. So I've got a little bit of that just basic history, but that was more of just trees, shrubs, perennials. Really no experience with giant vegetables or even gardening at all.
Yeah.
The wife always loves to garden, but that really wasn't my gig.
Right.
I was just mowing the lawn with a beer in the hand.
Yeah, do your dad style.
Yeah.
So now that you are, most definitely a successful pumpkin grower, and what are your plans to get to that 2,000 pound? What improvements do you want to make year one from year two?
I think I can do a little bit better with pushing my plant as far as with fertilizers. Last year I was scared to push any sort of nitrogen, so I felt like we just had slower growth out of the gate. I feel if we push a little bit more nitrogen this year, we can get to that pollination date earlier.
Right.
Maybe a couple weeks earlier, and then just have that 2 more weeks to grow.
Yeah.
Also on the agenda is to try to build some sort of a hoop house to protect the investment. But I haven't got there yet. There's a lot of work to do before spring, so who knows if it happens this year or if that's next.
And to tell everybody where you grow. Where you grow, I think, is awesome and terrifying at the same time.
So I grow in my front yard. It's on the corner lot, so I've got 2 streets that run by it. It's not a super busy street by any means, but some people have deviated their nightly walks to walk by the pumpkin patch to see the growth. If it's once a week, they can come by and they're like, wow, it's really grown a lot. But it is terrifying to grow there.
Right.
The last month when we knew we had a big pumpkin, to sleep with the windows open, and almost nightly I would get up and have to go check on the pumpkin if I heard something. I was like, somebody's for sure messing with it. But luckily, nobody's messed with it, and it's a great neighborhood that I have the bad karma. Somebody should probably mess with the pumpkin because I probably would have had it back in the day. So
because you're such a new grower, you are. I think you could be really relatable to people, who watch this, who want to grow a giant pumpkin or have thought about it or looking to be better. As somebody who's fairly new into it, was that intimidating to you to do it, or was there any barriers that you can, encourage people to don't let that stop them growing a giant pumpkin?
Looking at it, watching other pumpkin growers, it seems like they've all got land, right? A little bit more space. It's at least an acre. I don't have that. I live in the middle of the city. I thought there were some barriers as far as just being on city water, not well water, but all of those they were initially upfront barriers, but everything's solvable, right? So I don't have a big area. I'm able to grow 1,700 pounds on 300 square foot. And then some of the water issues were just easily alleviated with a little bit of research.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's any barriers for anybody. You can do this in the middle of town, or you can do it in the middle of the country.
Right.
as long as you're dedicated to it, you're going to grow a massive pumpkin, which is just a ton of fun.
Yeah. What are some of your tips? Like, if somebody, maybe they have a 300-pound pumpkin in their front yard too, and they want to get to 1,000, what's a tip that you can provide people, some of your simple ones?
Start with a soil test, get your soil balanced out, and then I think if consistent watering is also a great tip. So I do drip tape, similar to you. I think that's an easy way to manage your growth and your consistency with watering.
Yeah.
And then you're not having to be out there all the time, like overhead watering and watching it and shutting it down. You can set it on a timer and just get it going.
That's right. And you're a very busy man. You're a firefighter, right? So you're gone for long periods of time.
Yeah, I'm gone for 24 hours and then I'm home for the next 2 days, but there's often times where I get mandatory overtime or have to work a trade, so I'll be gone for 48 or 72 hours at a time.
Yeah.
So, luckily I've got some neighbors who help me out and my wife. It's kind of a community to grow this thing, but yeah, I'm busy. I'm not always getting the vines buried as quickly as I should, but yeah, it's no barriers on being busy either. You can get it done.
All right. Well, it looks like they're about to start, Brad. Thanks for the time.
Yeah.
Let's get our learn on.
Awesome.